Good morning, namaskar, and welcome to the Coal India Kolkata Literary Meet. We are delighted to have you all here with us today. There's a lot of traffic, so I know many people are stuck, but will be joining us shortly. Our first session today is Medal Mantra, where Deepa Malik will be discussing elusive Olympic and Paralympic goals and ways to win them. Deepa ma'am needs no introduction. She was here yesterday talking to school children at the Junior Kolkata Lit Meet about her inspiring journey. She is the first woman to win a Paralympic medal in India. She has been president of the Paralympic Committee, won innumerable awards and accolades, including the Khel Ratna and the Padma Shri. Her journey is really one of hope and resilience and a lesson for all of us. And in conversation with Deepaji today is Mr. Anindo Paul Chaudhary. He is Group CEO and partner at WealthApp, one of our partners for the Kolkata Literary Meet, and a very seasoned banking and wealth management professional. I would now request Deepaji, who is on stage already, and Anindoda to come and take over. Thank you.
Thank you. Turn around, yes. Good morning, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning. Namaskar, Deepaji.
Namaskar, good
A
morning.
very good morning to you.
Thank you so much.
A very good morning to all of you present here on this beautiful holiday morning. So, Deepaji, I remember attending your session for the first time. It was way back in 2013-14. If I remember correctly, it was at the Oberoi Gurgaon. You were a motivational speaker at the DBS Bank Management Offsite.
Okay, yes.
And we were so moved with your journey that most of us could not hold our tears. And over the years, I'm sure you would have motivated numerous people through so many motivational sessions, how you have overcome challenges. But today, we would like to shift focus towards the champion athlete in you. You know, other than someone who has overcome challenges and, delivered excellence, but you have won 23 international medals. You won a Paralympic medal. You have broken 4 Limca world records. You have won most prestigious Padma Shri, Arjuna, and Khel Ratna award. So, if I may set the context of today's discussion, in the Paralympic Games, we have traveled a long journey.
Absolutely.
Starting from one Murlikant Patikar in 1972,
Yes.
to one Devendra Jajaria, to the legend sitting beside me, one odd medal winners, to when you were at the helm in 2020 Tokyo. India has won 19 medals. And last year in Paris, we have won 29 medals, including 7 golds.
Absolutely.
So, Deepaji, to start our today's conversation, what does an Olympic or a Paralympic gold medal symbolizes to you personally or for India as a nation?
To me, it symbolizes the health of the nation. How evolved is the nation towards fitness, towards a healthy lifestyle, towards an education system which promotes good health. I think that is what an Olympic gold represents for me. How much are we focusing on balancing the academics and holistic growth of a child? Because around the world, and almost most of the medal-winning teams who have the legacy of winning a lot of medals, those teams are coming from the university. And that's what we wondered, and that's what we tried to push through Khelo India and reviving the Khelo India schemes. Because you have to catch them young. You have to let them know that sports is also a huge medium to serve your country, to dedicate your patriotism for your country, and to also get an opportunity for a sound career, because now that's what sports is. Sports is becoming mainstream, and it is not just one of the things. You can spend your whole life. Mine is an example. It can be a lifelong career for anybody, because now we are having programs where we are integrating retired sports persons also into the ecosystem. So I think I've always said, and I read it in a book by one of our sports directors, Mr. O.P. Singh, in his book which says, Say Yes to Sports. He says that the medal tally of a country does not depend on the population of the country.
Of course.
If that was so, then India would be one of the largest, because we were the most densely populated nation. But it depends on the playing population of the country. And that's why I say the medals at the Olympics and the Paralympics speaks of the health of the nation. How much are they devoting their time in sports? And I will take Paralympics a little more on the side, because when we talk about medals in the Paralympics, we understand how inclusive the policies are. We understand how inclusive the mindset of the nation is. And we also get a reflection of how persons with disabilities are treated in our country. More the medals, more the awareness on parasports, which means that we are focused on socially integrating, and we are focused on giving equal opportunities for persons with disabilities in our country.
Very well said. Very extremely well articulated.
Thank you.
So, talking about gold,
Yes.
that's the topic of today's discussion. If we shift from Paralympic to a normal, regular summer Olympic,
Yes.
we have seen while our number of medals are increasing,
Yes.
but gold has till now been limited to one Avinav Bindra and one Neeraj Chopra. So, Deepaji, if you could tell us, how do you view the challenges in bridging the gap between silver or bronze with the gold medal in international events? And what do you believe are the key factors, skill, mindset, or preparation that set gold medalists apart from those who secure silver or bronze?
I am honestly not in favor of segregating a gold or a silver or a bronze. I feel a medal is a medal, and it takes the tricolor up on an international podium. I do understand it's a different sense of pride and joy when you have a gold, your national anthem is playing, and you get on the top of the tally of the medal tally, and because gold is the one which puts you there. However, nothing to take away from those who have won a medal for the country. And my heart also goes out to those who are fourth in the medal tally. Because and seriously, if you pick the distances or the time, you will see 1/100th, a fraction of a second. For example, if you take Shiva Keshwan's case, he is 6-time Olympian in Winter Olympics, the only Indian to do so far. And his social media handles are titled 100th of a second. He missed his medal by 100th of a second. And what do you say to that? So what I'm saying here is that yes, for example, one of our athletes, Sandeep missed his medal by 1/4 of a centimeter in a javelin throw. Can you imagine that? So yes, gold is important. And now coming to your question as to how can we aspire for more gold. I have come to realize I played for 10 years before I could make a Paralympic medal. I missed Beijing, I missed London Paralympics, and it became a journey of 12 years before I could win a medal. The only thing that I realized is, first, we as Indians have to believe that we can win medals. Because we have to, we now, and slowly that culture is coming in, you know. It's sad when you hear comments like Indians only travel, and a very renowned person said that, I don't want to take the name, that Indians only go there to take selfies. I think that mentality and mindset has to change. And there is a very strong line, I would like to say, जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. I want more and more awareness for sports, more and more Olympic sports to become popular. The more you show, the more you telecast, the more you make people aware of sense of pride, because I think we need to emulate the cricket module. The way cricket has become popular, we have to make the other Olympic sports as popular so that more children come out and play and we have more opportunities to win medals. So, funding and sports policies are very much in place. They have been tweaked, revised, and now absolutely made athlete-centric. There is a lot of facility and funding coming in, international coaching opportunities coming in for athletes. So I think now we are at the cusp of a time where we can look at more gold medals. Sports sciences are also a very, very important and integral part. Train the trainer program is required because we want more coaches scientifically trained to coach athletes. We cannot go by the old methods. We need to get the technology involved. And as soon as the technology was involved in my training and I was given the liberty to customize, initially the coaches were so scared to let go or share the athlete with anybody else in the training program. There was always this, my athlete kind of a theory. Today, coaches are calling out to the mental trainers, to the physiotherapists, to the injury management trainers, to the biomechanics trainer, to a nutritionist to understand the body of an athlete and how best an optimum use of the muscle power that can be done. What are the muscle groups that can be trained more to achieve a better distance or a better time? So I think that introduction of science and increasing people with the right knowledge in the ecosystem of sports and a very time-bound administration. Because if you are delaying competition for qualifications of an athlete, if you are not time-bound in the training of an athlete, you will never reach the optimum performance of an athlete to win a gold at the said competition.
No, couldn't agree with you. I mean, when you mentioned about missing medal in a fraction of a second, I would like to remind all of us, twice our heartbroken at the Olympics. One was for two legends, Milkha Singh and
Yes.
P.T. Usha. Both lost out medals on a fraction of a second. So we'll now move to India's sports ecosystem, which you have already touched upon. And I mean, you said it very correctly. See, Deepaji, I remember when we were kids or much younger, all the sports bodies used to be ruled by a bureaucrat or a politician. From there, today there is a top scheme where all the medal contenders are being encouraged. They're being trained well, and it's led by people like Avinav Bindra. We see P.T. Usha ji at the helm of the Olympic Association, Adil Sumariwala at the head of Indian Olympic athletic body. You have been the president of Paralympic Federation, but I'm sure there are more to be done. So in your view, what are the most critical improvements needed in India's sports ecosystem to consistently produce gold medals?
I think what is, you rightly said, now we are becoming an athlete-centric nation. We are utilizing the experience of retired sports personalities, and what is required to get more medals and get better, I think we need to expand the number of sports. For example, when we went to Rio Paralympics, we were participating only in 5 sports. We tried to take it up to 9 sports when we went to Tokyo 2020, and then to 12 when we went to Paris 2024. And then you can see from 4 medals, we went to 19 medals, and we went to 29 medals. The number of women participation has increased because that is an area which was neglected. At least in para sports, it was totally neglected. When I won my medal, I asked the country what took 7 decades of an independent India to make a female medal. And I'm so proud that post my medal, there are 14 more female medals that have got added in just 2 versions of the Paralympics. So which means that we are missing out on the talent pool of the women. And though Olympics has had a longer history of having more women winning the medals, but that's another area that we can see. And uh, you said more medals. Like I said earlier also, we need a time-bound administration. We have to be really up on the game, and we have to take away any kind of partiality in selections. It has to be more transparent so that the right talent is identified. We have to have proper analysis of the performances. We are so happy that now the Target Olympic Podium Scheme has research officers who are trained in sports management and sports activities. So more trained people on the subject in the ecosystem, and that change is happening. And I think these are the things which are really going to. And when you say bureaucrats and politicians, I think it is good to have somebody in power to put a voice out there. I'm not so against having politicians, because politicians are the people who can actually change the policies and bring about change in the governance.
Fast execution.
Fast execution of those policies. And that's exactly what happened. When I reached out in 2012 with my project paper of saying that why India still does not have parasports as a mainstream. And I knocked at several doors, and then I realized that I was suddenly appointed as the member of the working group for 5-year planning commission, as appointed by the HRD division of the sports ministry. So it's not that nobody wants the change. Change is, and of course, post 2014, we suddenly realized that we were very much a part of the mainstream policies. So this also, I think, is going to make a lot of difference.
Great. So today we see, let's say, a Reliance Foundation, big
Yes.
time getting involved with Olympic
Yes.
and Paralympic sports. So how critical is the role of a private sponsorship and government schemes in the journey of an athlete?
Absolutely important, because unless you have the right schemes at the right place, given at the right time, I think we're going to miss out. And that's where the misses were. Deepa Malik could not go to London Paralympics, could not really get that scientific training because there weren't proper schemes in place. And I think private contribution is hugely important. Now, if you take the case of Simran, for example, in our the track queen from the para-athletics, visually impaired para-athlete Simran Sharma, she had a very severe injury, and it was OGQ who came and helped her with all her recovery and assisted. Reliance Foundation is there, OGQ is there, Go Sports is there, and many such corporate houses who are now joining hands and encouraging Olympic sports. So this involvement, because everything costs money. The wheelchair that I'm sitting on is almost 3 lakhs in cost. The javelin that I needed to practice with cost 1 lakh plus. And if I'm doing a speed training, I need 3 to 4 javelins. And these javelins get exhausted within 6 months, and I have to replenish that. A prosthetic leg costs 4 to 5 lakhs. And one, for example, if you see Sumit Antil, who is the gold medal winner and the world record holder in the para javelin, he needs 3 legs, one for basic walking, one for his gym training, squatting, weightlifting, heavy weightlifting, and 3 is that athletic limb with which he runs and throws. So 3 prosthetics given at the right time for assisting his training, that's almost 15 lakhs every 6 months, because they wear out with the serious training that they do. So government is doing its bit, but it is very important under the various schemes of CSR that corporate houses come and hold the hands of the athletes. There was a proposal of one corporate, one sport, And I really hope that comes alive because you can see how well the Pro Kabaddi has started, that its sport is growing. Now we had the World Cup Kho where we said the world goes Kho. We already have uh, the other leagues coming up. So the corporates are like, for example, Indian Oil adopted para sports for 4 years during my tenure. And you see there is a tremendous change.
Absolutely. So, of course, we see some of the states like Odisha, they have a
They've got the
specific
hockey.
sports policy.
Yes, yes.
But, I'm sure some of the other states will also
Yes.
pick up the note from them. So, on the
Haryana is a huge example. If you prioritize a sport, they say Haryana is the gold mine of medals and athletes.
Absolutely.
And I am one too from there because that was one state which had the right sports policies at the right time. And you see them leading in 40% of the medals are coming from Haryana in the Olympic
absolutely.
sport. Yes.
Absolutely. So, on the ecosystem, my last question, if Dr. Deepa Malik is at the helm of affairs on policies,
Yes.
what is the one policy you would like to change or introduce over and above what is prevailing now?
There's no if about it, Satyajit. I've already been at the helm of policy making since 2012. I have been a very strong part of it. And even when I was receiving my Padma Shri, I still remember the words of Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji when he walked up to my mother and he said, don't think your daughter's getting this Padma Shri for sports or medals. She deserves this Padma Shri because she brought about changes in the policies.
Awesome.
So-
I think this deserves a huge round of
So
applause.
one has already been at it. The work progress is something which is always ongoing. There is always a scope of improvement and adding more facilities. Now, if you ask me, what would I change or what would I dream of changing, I think I would want every platform. If it has stairs on one side, it should have a ramp on the other side. I want inclusion. I want everything to become mainstream and every sports infrastructure, every place of my country becomes accessible to anybody, whether it is from an underprivileged section of society, whether it is a person with disability, whether it is a woman in far-flung remote areas, rural areas. I think we want sports opportunity for all, and the schemes, the funding, the policies, and the infrastructure amicable to support that.
Super. So, now talking about mental resilience, motivation, and legacy, Deepaji, consistency is one biggest challenge for our, anything, I guess, even including sports. And more often than not, media or the supporters, people who root for the sport, they don't realize that our sporting heroes like you are at the end of the day all human being, and they cannot produce number one position or the medals one after another consistently. So what I would like to understand, despite achieving so much, what keeps you motivated to strive for excellence?
Okay. Coming to the first part of what you just said, that at the end of the day, everybody is a human. That's why I want everybody in their school days to play sports. So even when later on they become media or they become administrators, they become bureaucrats, they understand what is the sports all about. They understand what is playing sport, what is winning, what is losing, what it takes to prepare for a competition, and how a human body reacts to wins, defeats, and how it cannot be same at all the time. So more and more people play sports. They will understand, be more sensitive when they come to report about sports or to conduct or organize sports. And you said my resilience and my motivation. I think the purpose behind it all gives me my motivation. Because when I became a person with disability, as a child, I suffered for 4 years. And at the age of 30, finally, I was paralyzed, chest down. And I was a very young woman at that point of time. It was 25 years ago. And at the same time, I was also bringing up a daughter in disability who, due to a road accident at the age of 14 years, had got hemiplegia, severe head injury led to left side of her body paralyzed. Now, a woman in paralysis bringing up a child in hemiplegia paralysis with a younger child, 3-year-old, I think sports came as a huge rescue to me. And when I started playing sports, it became a medium for me not just to talk about ability beyond disability, but also became a tool of parenting to bring up a child in disability and give her the health, the fitness, the self-confidence, and self-esteem by introducing her also to para sports. Myself and my daughter, we are the only mother-daughter duo in the world who have played together in the Grand Prix and won medals together for the nation.
Outstanding.
And that made me realize how important sports is, especially when it comes to a woman and a woman in disability or a person with disability. And I think that became my purpose. I wanted more and more people to benefit because I tried that formula on me, it worked. I tried the formula on my child, it worked. I tried the formula on many as an administrator, it worked. And I think this purpose feeds my motivation when you are able to make a difference in someone's life and be able to become the change that you want to see around you. That keeps me motivated. The ability to give back to the society with a positive impact, whether it is in the infrastructure, whether it is in the mindsets, or whether it is in by way of demanding the right policies and raising a voice to make my new India, my Viksit Bharat, an inclusive India.
Awesome. So on the similar note, how do you balance, Deepaji, the intrinsic desire to achieve with the external pressure of representing India on the global stage?
Like I said, every medal made my voice stronger for a larger purpose. The medals in sports achievements were never meant for sports achievements. They were a declaration of ability beyond disability. There was, brought in the strength to demand for better inclusive infrastructure or a better India for persons with disabilities. So I think that was good enough to keep your mental strength going. And definitely, I would say a professional psychological help from a sports psychologist was a very integral part of my training. I had a mind coach. I have spoken about Sarandeep. I've spoken about Preeti Gupta. And above all, I think my daughters and my parents, I was brought up by my parents in a way that the innate nature of my being was of having a strong mental strength. And that is the character they helped me build as I grew up. The adversities that kept happening, tumor after tumor, surgeries after surgeries, I think they taught me that positivity is the best way to go forward. So a lot of things came together for the mental resilience to be. But yes, I would definitely like to share an incident here that just before my Paralympics, I was dragged to the High Court. I had worked very hard from 3.67 meters to qualify in shot put, which suddenly came in my curriculum because I was always aiming to play javelin, and Paralympics at Rio offered only one event, which was shot put. I had no choice but to train in shot put if I had to go for the Paralympics at Rio. So I started training, I left javelin, I started training for Rio for the shot put event. I barely qualified by 3.67 meters, but I worked very hard. And within a year, when we had the main trials, I threw a distance of 4.48 meters to qualify for that one woman quota slot that Indian contingent had received. For that, I was taken to High Court saying that a 46-year-old woman cannot increase the throw of a heavy iron ball within a year to this. That means she has cheated. Now, just 15 days before leaving for the Paralympics board, Do you train or do you go fight at the High Court and also battle with all the negative media news which started coming up that Deepa Malik, Arjuna awardee, could have cheated her way into the... So that was not just a competition pressure, it was a lot of pressure otherwise also. Your dignity, your honesty, your hard work was at stake. So you can imagine what would be the mental state when I was sitting on that competition chair and about to throw. I won the case nonetheless. Those 15 days, I had to work along with my psychologist. I'm so grateful to my daughter Devika, who stood like a rock by my side, and all those who kept me in the right frame of mind. So I think that's a true saying, that you become the average of the 5 people you live with. So choose wisely. That helps the motivation a lot.
No, absolutely.
And then finally I did throw. My second throw was 4.49 meters, which was 1 centimeter ahead of the mark for which I was taken to the High Court. So I, at the second throw, could prove my honesty. And in my final throw, I won the medal with 4.61 centimeters of a distance.
Absolutely fabulous.
So you, as an athlete, you have to prepare parallelly to be mentally strong, because that makes or breaks a medal.
No, correct. I mean, see, as you said that somebody made a comment regarding Indian athletes go to click selfies. And I remember, people were writing in social media that look at the size of the Indian contingent. But what they don't realize that behind each successful athlete, there were multiple coaches of different discipline.
Yes.
Performance coach, mental strategist, and all of that. And it's increasingly important, as you rightly shared.
And why not give that exposure unless our athletes who have qualified the A-level mark? Qualifying the A-level mark itself is a huge challenge. And unless you go there, you get the competition fear out of yourself. You see what it is like. How will your aspirations grow? How are you going to come back and set your mind to the goal and want to be there unless you see the exuberance, you see the josh, you see the celebration of the medal, you see the tricolor go up. If 7 have won, the 70 are getting inspired to win the next time. So why should we even question that? I think more and more people should be given the competition exposure.
Right. So audience will come to you. I have two last questions to ask Deepaji before we come to you. So Deepaji, what are the lessons you would like to impart with the aspiring athletes, or any message to young Indians aspiring to bring home the elusive gold medal?
First and foremost would be, there is no shortcut to success. If you're aiming for the gold, you have to be prepared for consistent training. Even when I won my Arjuna award and I had already won an Asian medal, Asian record, World Championship record, or even after winning the Rio Paralympic medal, when I went back to the coaches for my 2018 Asian Para Games, I would always say, where are you going? I would say, I am going to train. I am going to learn technical training with my coach. It is an ongoing process. You are never an expert, so you cannot say that you know it all. It is all about your methodical training, meticulous hard work, and consistency in your hard work. Second thing is, when I say no shortcut to success, I also mean play true, play fair. You cannot depend on any abusive substances to gain your performance.
Very, very important.
So do not depend on any such external banned substances to gain any kind of shortcut to victory. It will not work. It will only worsen your condition and your chances to win that gold. A little bit of temptation can cost a lot. We have seen athletes missing out. Even without having a particular substance, they could have still made it to the medal. But, just losing out on it. So play true, play fair is one. And secondly, and thirdly, I think just focus on becoming a better version of yourself and bettering your own performance. Don't get involved in the competition fear or that whole strategy of being in a competition, even if you better your own performance, you are likely to be in the podium spot. The girl who was competing against me from Canada, Pamela, she went back and wrote on her social media, she was world number one. The moment I threw 4.49, she just lost it. She was shivering. She was so worried about my throw that she forgot that she was the current number one. And she ended up coming fourth in the competition and she left playing after that. She says, I don't deserve to be a sports person because I cannot handle the sports competition pressure. So I think had she focused on just what she had done in her training, she probably would have been a medal winner. So that is also a very important lesson for athletes to carry.
Okay, so my last question before we move to the audience. I mean, we spoke so much about the gold medal, which was the topic of today's discussion, but with Dr. Deepa Malik around, motivation is something, we can't run away with. So, Deepaji, I mean, you have overcome a lot.
Yes.
You have done a lot to come out of the challenges. But what is that one element of motivation which has driven you through and is still driving you through in your journey in success?
I think that one line which my father said to me, and he always told me, whether I got paralyzed, whether I missed a medal, whether I missed an opportunity to get the right funding, even when I was struggling at any stage, even as a homemaker, as a mother, as a wife, post-paralysis, struggling with my bladder and bowel conditions. Every time there was a challenge, my father would turn around and tell me only one thing, Deepa, remember the basic rule. You have been named Deepa, which means a lamp, and always remember to light a lamp than to curse the dark. Focus.
We'll come to that.
Yeah, focus on adaptability, focus on finding and identifying the problem. Don't harp only about the problem. Start looking for solutions. And when you have to look for solution, that means you have to upskill your game. Solutions are nothing but learning about the situation. Solutions are nothing about educating yourself to find the right path to overcome that particular challenge. So be hungry to learn. When you start saying that you know it all, I think that's when everything will stagnate inside you, whether it is your motivation or whether it is your growth or whether it is your ability to adapt and to accept the change.
Super. So we'll take 2 questions from the audience. Kindly be brief. I'll come to you. Yes.
There's a mic. I'll be able to hear you better. Yeah, hello. Hello, dear.
Hi, Deepa ma'am. I run Carely. It is a support group for teens and young adults with disability. And firstly, I would like to thank you so much for sharing your knowledge about inclusivity and Paralympics as well. My question to you would be that as a Paralympic champion and advocate for inclusion, what advice would you give to parents of teens with disability to help them support their children's dreams?
Thank you. You can sit down.
Thank you for that question. And I think my parenting was nothing but bringing up a girl child and disability. What I would tell the parents is, please identify sources of happiness for them, whatever they want to do. And that's exactly what me and my daughter Devika are doing through our foundation called Wheeling Happiness. We help people to identify their sources of happiness, what interests them, what makes their soul smile, what gives them the confidence, what gives them the self-esteem and self-respect, what makes them want to enjoy and celebrate life despite the challenges they're living in. And that could be anything. That could be painting, writing, playing sports, any particular thing that they enjoy doing. When I became paralyzed, the words like outdoors, adventure, sports, tourism, fashion, party, picnic, they were just erased. Nobody was talking about that to me. Nobody wanted to talk about the latest version of a sari or a picnic that they were going to, thinking that Deepa cannot do. My advice to parents would be to help them understand their abilities beyond disabilities, to identify, socially integrate them into the places where they enjoy the most, and also show them that there is a lot that they can do and not always say that you cannot do this or that. Just give them a world of opportunities and give them the choice to choose what they love to do the most, and stop, for heaven's sake, stop comparing them with anybody else, because each one of us are gifted with special abilities and something, some skill or something special that makes us unique. Appreciate them for their uniqueness.
Wonderful. Yeah, the last question from the audience.
Hello, ma'am. I have a question about the funding and those sort of nature, that sort of nature about the Indian sports and Olympics.
Yes.
As far as I understand, the U.S. government does not directly fund the Olympics, the Olympic Committee or the sports in the U.S. In fact, they raise sponsorships and they raise funding.
Yes.
So, but in India, we often blame the government for a lack of support and lack of finances. So, the US wins the most amount of medals every year in the Paralympics and the Olympics. So, how can we change this belief system in India that we blame everything on the government and we can actually raise funding and raise sponsorships so that the onus is on us as citizens and instead of blaming the government for it?
That's something so beautifully put out there. And if it makes you feel any better, you'll be surprised. Indian government gives the largest cash awards to the athletes and para-athletes in the whole world. The para-athletes and athletes who have won internationally, and now with the upcoming state policies on sports, they are the richest athletes. But yes, that is post winning the medal. And even on the journey of the medal, government is definitely doing a lot. And that is something we need to understand. Why do we always blame the government if there is no accessibility? Did anybody wake up in the morning and say, okay, today I'm going to make the 10 square meter of my space accessible? I'm going to look around and look, are we creating enough sports spaces when you are designing and the private entities are designing any a society or any residential area? Are we giving enough space to the sports area around that? So there is a lot that every citizen can contribute. There is a lot that every corporate house. And at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say here is we talk about corporate, we talk about people, we talk about, they are all made up of humans. The execution of any policy, any organizational skill is done by a human being. If human take the onus that yes, I am going to do this in this particular field, and especially for sports. And once again, let me say that you're talking about United States, the most of the players come from the university and the college scheme of sports. So it is a lot to do with our education system and the schools to also start creating nurseries for sports and teaching them young. Yes.
So we have, we have kind of completed our time slot,
Yes.
but we can't let Deepaji go away without sharing a couple of lines from Umid Ka Diya Jalana.
Oh, okay. So like I said, I knew you would ask me, so I'm carrying that page of my diary, which my daughter photostated in the morning. And like I said, my name was given Deepa by my parents, and every time I asked myself, why this is happening to me, why disability to me, why my daughter got disabled, why, and every time he said, Deepa, just focus on your name. And this is a poem I dedicated to my father, who's no longer with us. He left us in 2018, but one fine day I wrote this poem when we were lighting lamps during the COVID. And there was so much of outburst on social media, will lighting lamp take away the COVID and blah, blah, blah. And I said, why? It is so symbolic. And that's why probably my father also kept my name Deepa. And the words are something like this, which also is my message to the youth. This is not just about a father naming a daughter. This has a very universal approach. How today's child should be, how every human being should be. So it is दीप सी प्रज्वलित, सकारात्मकता को समर्पित, वीर स्वभाव से गठित, बिटिया तुम ऐसी होना, ज्ञान से दूर करना अंधकार, जुल्म का ना सहना प्रहार, मानवता का करती रहो प्रचार, बिटिया तुम ऐसी होना, हृदय के हर डर को हराना, जीत के ही सर्वदा दीप जलाना, कर्मठता की शक्ति को बढ़ाना, बिटिया तुम ऐसी होना, पीड़ित को अवश्य देना दान, शिष्टाचार का करना आदान प्रदान, देश के लिए दे देना बलिदान, बिटिया तुम ऐसी होना, न करना कभी स्वयं की बड़ाई, सीखते रहना खूब करना पढ़ाई, अंधकार पे करना रोशनी की चढ़ाई, बिटिया तुम ऐसी होना, आग की ज्वाला सा ज्योति के उजाला सा, आग की ज्वाला सा ज्योति के उजाला सा, दीपा रखा है मैंने नाम तुम्हारा, जीवन के संघर्ष से कभी डर न जाना, दीपा बेटी मेरी तुम सदा उम्मीद का एक नया दिया जलाना.
Thank you, Deepaji, for sharing this moment. It's been an honor and privilege to share the stage with a legend like you.
Thank you
Ladies
so
and
much.
gentlemen, that was Dr. Deepa Malik. I think we can do a better job. We put our hands together.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sajid. And a huge shout out and thank you to the Kolkata Lit Fest. I have had an amazing experience here. I thank Malvika for inviting me and celebrating my book here. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much. And thank you, HarperCollins, for helping me write my thoughts. And thank you, Soni Sangwan, for writing it with me. Thank you so much.